Good morning, everyone. I'm going to just introduce my first song. Tomorrow is the feast of Saint Bridget in Ireland, and Saint Bridget and the goddess Bridget are very much intertwined in folklore in Ireland and elsewhere. So, this is a song dedicated to her. It's a translation from the Gaelic because I don't know Gaelic well enough to attempt to sing it. It's called I Sing Praise to Bridget. I sing praise to Bridget, patroness of Ireland, protector of every land. All the people praise you. Shining light of Leinster, illuminate the land. Benefactor of all youth, guardian of women. Sharpen hard the winter, bitter cold and dark, but on every Bridget's day, spring returns to Ireland.
I apologize, everyone. I got one thing out. This is the first time that I've done this. Um, so I'm going to ring the chalice or ring the bell. Thank you, Mary. That was beautiful. We would like to extend an especially warm welcome to those who are here for the first time. So glad that you are here. Our greeter today is Lori Quigley. Is dropping our connection card into the chat box if you would like to complete that and connect with our community. This caring, supportive community has a pastoral care committee who works closely with our minister to provide support, care, and a listening ear. Please fill out the pastoral care card being dropped in the chat box if you would like the care team and or Reverend Laura to reach out to you. There is also a link on our website. Our online services are intergenerational, and we have a religious exploration program whose direction, Rebecca Britt, is happy to hear from you. Her email is in the chat box now. There's a lot happening here at South Valley Unitarian Universalist Society, or SFUS, and the Happenings Weekly newsletter is concise, up-to-the-minute way to stay connected. Lori Quigley's email is now in the chat box if you would like to reach out to her to receive happenings. We are also active on Facebook and have an event calendar on our website. We have a few announcements today. Save the date, February 27th for the UUA New Day Rising Anti-Racism Workshop. This online workshop is an opportunity for our congregation to learn more about how to become anti-racist and connect and share with other UU congregations engaged in this work about strategies, activities, and insights learned so far. Our Young Adult and Social Action Committee or Social Action Council will sponsor 10 people to attend the workshop, and the cost is only $20 for additional attendees. If you are interested, please see the announcement in this week's happenings and contact Susan Ezagari to register. We would now like to take a moment to share the warmth of community. We will say hello to one another and then say our chalice lighting words together. They will be in the chat box. If you have a candle or chalice, please light it as we say those words in a moment.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hello, Eric.
Hello, Eric.
Hi, everybody.
Morning.
I like your new haircut, Janice.
Morning.
Didn't hear me.
Morning.
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 Good to see you all.
You too.
Hello, back to the avenues and to Midvale from the East Bench.
Let us light our chalices. We invite you to stand in body, mind, or spirit as we say our chalice lighting words and use our actions if you want. We light this chalice for the warmth of love, for the light of truth, and for the energy of action.
Sarah, could you start again and unmute?
Yeah, sorry about that. Thank you. I'm trying to flip over to a different page to see what I'm reading. Okay. Good morning. I'm Sarah Featherstone, and I am a member of the Board of Trustees here at South Valley UU Society. My pronouns are she and her. Come, whoever you are welcome here. No matter your age, your size, the color of your eyes, your hair, your skin, you are welcome here. No matter your gender, whom you love, how you speak, or whatever your abilities, you are welcome here. You are welcome here whether you come with laughter in your heart or tears in your eyes. You are welcome here. No matter what you've experienced in the past, no matter what awaits you in the future, you are welcome here. Whether you believe in God all of the time, or some of the time, or none of the time, you are welcome here. This is a community of open minds, loving hearts, and willing hands. You are welcome here at South Valley Unitarian Universalist Society.
Good morning. I am the Reverend Laura Young. My pronouns are she and her. Welcome to this space that we made sacred with our togetherness. It's good to be together. It is a blessing to be sharing this time and this space with you. Our call to worship this morning was written by Unitarian Universalist minister Derek Jackson. And he writes, in these times we are called to step into the mess and the murk of life, called to be strong and vulnerable, called to console and to challenge, called to be grounded and hold lofty ideals, called to love in the face of hate. We are called, and it is not easy, and we will not always agree, and we will yell and scream and cry, and we will laugh and smile and sing, yet we are still called to be together. There is so much work to do, and we cannot do it alone. We need one another, holding each other accountable to our covenants, to the holy, to love and justice. In these times, we are called. May this time of worship be a gentle rest and a call into the deepness of your heart. Let us worship together in joy and in solidarity. And let us begin that by singing with one another. We're going to be starting a new tradition here of having some additional pre-recorded hymns, and Tammy is going to.
Good morning, everyone. In keeping with the song that I sang not too long ago, I want to continue and talk a little bit more about Bridget. Spring in Ireland traditionally starts on St. Bridget's Day, which is tomorrow, February 1st. However, this may not be entirely historically accurate, as it is a celebration with roots that go back to pre-Christian times, some 6,000 years, when no written tradition existed. Having infused tradition in Ireland with a mixture of reverence and fear for thousands of years prior to Christianity creeping into Ireland, it's highly understandable that the people of Ireland were a tad reluctant to banish Bridget completely. It seems that she may have morphed into the Christian Saint Bridget that we know about today. There are many legends about the birth of the girl who became the first woman saint in Ireland. Named after the ancient powerful Celtic goddess of poetry, music, and healing, Bridget was said to be born on the threshold of her father's house at dawn on February 1st. While Bridget of Kildare is a real historical person, many of the miracles attributed to her are very similar to the goddess Bridget. St. Bridget's childhood was a privileged one, but she was not a spoiled, self-centered little girl. Hers was no rags to riches story, but the tale of a girl determined to share all she had with the poor, or in this case, all her father had. She had a great habit of taking and giving away things that actually belonged to her father. His milk, his butter, his meat, to all and sundry who passed their door and needed something to eat. Her father decided the best solution to taking care of his overly generous daughter was to marry her off to the King of Leinster. Bridget had no intention of marrying, even if her chosen was the king. Bridget waited in her chariot while her father negotiated the marriage deal, and her father left his bejeweled sword with her, as etiquette demanded he not be armed when he was meeting with the king. Well, Bridget saw this poor beggar by the road, and she had nothing to give him except her father's sword, so she gave away her father's sword. As you can imagine, her father was none too pleased when he returned to introduce her to her future husband. And the king just kind of wondered if he should reconsider this marriage to this loving girl who gives away everything. "Will you give away my riches too?" he asked her. And she replied, "I would give away all the wealth of Ireland to serve the King of Heaven." The King of Leinster knew that Bridget was no shrinking violent and far more than he could ever handle or contain. And so he asked Bridget if she would like to become a nun rather than marry. To which Bridget replied that the king could show her no greater honor than allow her to take holy vows, and he immediately granted her wish. The King of Leinster granted her land in Kildare to build her monastery. Legend has he granted her the amount of land equal to the size of her cloak. Once Bridget spread her cloak over the ground, it just kept spreading and spreading and spreading until it covered a vast acreage. The king couldn't renege on his promise, and so he gave her all the land covered by her cloak, on which she built a great monastery for both monks and nuns that stands still today. It is also said Bridget became the only female bishop in Celtic Irish history. Whether this is true or not can't be verified. It happened before the time Rome exuded a lot of pressure an influence over Celtic Christianity, and many of the accepted practices of the Celtic Christian Church were not sanctioned by Rome, including married clergy and female bishops. Not only was Bridget a master of 5th century multitasking, she was also kind and compassionate and very fond of a good party. She understood the importance of good food and plenty of drink when family, friends, and strangers gathered together. Bridget liked an odd beer, and she brewed it, and she served it, and she gave it away. And when she didn't have enough beer to go around, she miraculously created more beer from water. Kind of sound familiar? One keg of Bridget's beer not only satisfied a monastery full of monks, it quenched the thirst of 17 more monasteries full of saints and sinners. She turned well water into ale on one occasion, and the old legends of her brewing prowess record other beer making miracles. Fact or fiction, we will never know, because in Ireland they always say, never let the truth get in the way of a good story. And there are plenty of good stories when it comes to the goddess and the saint, Bridget.
Thank you, Mary. I always love that story about Bridget being both goddess and human at the same time. At this time, we will take a moment to share our personal joys and sorrow and hold them in community with one another. May the blessing and the warmth and the care of this community surround and hold all of us dear, and may our love radiate out to all those in need.
This community, our church, and its many ministries are only made possible by the gifts you give of your time, your talent, and your treasure. Many of you pledge monthly to support our work, and for this we are grateful. Your gifts help ensure that we are able to live our values of love and justice in the world outside. Part of our ministry at South Valley includes sharing our Sunday worship offerings with a charitable organization that aligns with our principles and values. Your gift today will support the work of South Valley and the Crossroads Urban Center. We're actually giving to the COVID Emergency Relief Fund. South Valley uses Giveify to collect online donations during worship. You are invited to give using the link that, Tammy Felt, I think, is putting it in the chat box, or you can go to your phone and download the app. Thank you for your generosity and dedication to justice and love. Let's see. Lori Quigley has put our offering words in the chat box. You are invited to say these words along with me. We are this church. We are its hands, its heart, its voice. Together we share the wealth of this community and sustain it with our gifts.
For all that we have received and all we have found the courage to give, may we be truly grateful. May these gifts be a blessing on South Valley and on the Crossroads Urban Center and the Emergency Relief Fund for COVID-19. At this time, I invite you to join me in a time of meditation, reflection, and prayer. As it is the midwinter point in our year, and we've been celebrating from Ireland, I thought I would introduce and bring another perspective on the midwinter to this space. And this comes from Ed McGaw, Eagle Man in the Iroquois tribe, and it's a blessing for midwinter from the Iroquois. Let us think of Mother Earth, her rich bounty that will result from springtime, the golden corn and the seeds of harvest, all grown strong from Mother Earth, the spring rains that will come and the energy of Father Sky. It is time now to consider healing of ourselves, healing of a loved one, healing adversaries for peace among nations, and healing of the harms done to Mother Earth. And he writes the following prayer. O Great Spirit, I pray for myself in order that I may be healed. O Great Spirit, I pray for my close friend who is sick and needs help. O Great Spirit, I pray for this world so that all these atomic weapons and other bad things we point at each other will someday soon all be destroyed. I pray that adversaries will communicate and all of the mistrust will be healed. Oh, Great Spirit, I pray for the environment. I pray for its cleansing and for the renewal of our Mother Earth. May these prayers and the prayers whispered on all our hearts be lifted like the wings on a bird up to the high and out and crossed where all may hear, be touched, be healed, and be held. Amen. Let us now be quiet with one another in silent meditation.
My reading is called Bridget Bright by Hedge Witch. She is known as Bridget Bright, goddess who shines against the night. At Kalidara, at the setting sun, her sacred flame is kept by one. 19 times the earth turns round as sacred springs come forth the ground. 20 times the sun has burned, and now the goddess has returned. Alone she tends her thrice bright flame, born of her heart that bears her name. The Dagda knows Bridget as daughter, triple blessed by fire and water. Poets call her name to inspire, and healers oft gained from her fire. Wayland too would know her well as hammer and anvil ring like a bell. A sorrowful cry did she give meaning when first she brought to ire keening. O sacred fire against the night, burn for Bridget, Bridget bright. Fire to the head to quicken us, fire in the cauldron to heal us, fire in the forge of the heart to temper us.
Thank you, Kathleen. And thank you to all members of the CUPS group here at South Valley for helping to put together such a beautiful celebration of Midwinter on this last day of January. So up in the Pacific Northwest, the salmon of the river travel great distances over the course of their lives, from freshwater to the sea, and then back again to the exact river where they were born into for their spawning. In the course of these travels, which are the bookends of their living and their dying, the salmon must learn not only how to swim upstream, they must also learn to climb, or rather leap up, waterfalls. Salmon have in fact been recorded jumping as high as 12 feet in their efforts to climb the waterfalls. And it's rather astounding when you think about that. To put that in perspective for a moment, that would be the equivalent of an adult being able to jump over 50 feet. And to put that in perspective, the current world record holder in women's long jump, Galina Chitsiboka, jumped 24 feet 8 inches back in 1988. Author Mark Nepo wrote a beautiful reflection on how this journey of the salmon might be used as a metaphor for our own journeys through adversity, both as individuals and as a collective body of humanity. In his observations of the salmon, he writes, "What the salmon somehow know is how to turn their underside from center to tail into the powerful current coming directly at them, which hits them squarely, and the impact then launches them out and further up the waterfall. From a distance, it seems rather magical, but in actuality, they are deeply at one with their element." The salmon are at one with their element, the river. They do not spend time arguing about why the elements are as they are, nor do they resist the resistance. They turn towards it, and they use it for both individual and collective survival. I'm quite certain that leaping up waterfalls is rather tough work, and I'm certain they don't do it perfectly every single time. I suspect that they frequently fail, and I suspect that they get washed back to the bottom of the falls and have to start over and over again sometimes. And of course, it's probably also true, or observably so, that not all the salmon are going to make it to the final destination as they might have hoped. Some go on to become nourishment for the other animals that the salmon share the river with. But these realities of the river do not stop the salmon from continuing their journey. The journey upriver and back is their task, their lot, and their destiny, if you will. They keep trying, and more importantly, they stick together. It has been observed that they teach and support one another along this journey, helping those that are struggling. They gather around and help one another learn the tricks for leaping up those waterfalls. The salmon know how to work with the resistance that is. They know how to turn towards the pain, to take the blow and to use it to move forward on their larger journey. Deep inside that salmon body, there resides a knowing, a trusting, an opening to the larger life that extends beyond individuality and into the ebb and flow of all creation. Again, they keep on trying. They stick together and they learn from one another. And so it should be for us as well. We too swim in the river of life, and we too face waterfall-like moments that test our endurance and our faith in ourselves and one another. And we too can learn to stick together and to encourage one another as best we can along the way. Some time ago, when I was struggling to find wholeness in my life, I was gifted with the opportunity to be reminded of the importance of remembering that my vulnerability shared allows others to care and support me, and allows all of us to stick together. So one morning I woke a little bit before dawn to find that a package had been delivered the day before to my front porch. And as it wasn't close to my birthday or the holidays, I was immediately quite curious about who this package was from. And as I stooped down to pick it up, I saw the impossibly neat handwriting of my cousin Christina from back east, who I had seen some weeks prior for a family wedding. I walked back inside and sat down on my tan couch and tore open the package with care. Inside was Amy Poehler's latest book and a note from my cousin. Her note was short and simple. It seemed specific to the struggle I had been walking through, and her tone was one of encouragement. "I want you to know that I see you," she wrote. "I see your suffering, and I enter into it with you. I also want you to know that beyond your suffering, I see a landscape of wholeness waiting for you, and I trust you to keep on going." And the tears welled up in my eyes at that moment. For to be seen in the midst of my own journey, which had suffering in it, allowed me to feel less alone. We are not meant to journey alone, and we're certainly not meant to suffer alone. That is the inherent message behind our greeting that we share each Sunday morning. You are welcome here, no matter who you are, the color of your eyes, or the status of your heart. We want you to be here. Whether you are feeling bright and cheerful and full of joy, or whether or not your heart is weary and in need of care. My cousin was like a co-swimmer on the great river of life with me. She held space for me. She encouraged me and pointed me back to the larger life and the bigger journey. And that is what we are up to with one another, when we encourage one another to keep on going. This is a time of high resistance and churn in our nation. This COVID winter has gone on longer than we'd hope and may yet persist, longer than we'd wish, as we wait our turn for the vaccines and the various mutations move in and amongst our communities. Our journey remains full of challenges, and the churn is strong. We must be careful to pay attention and not to let the churn that is all around us be our undoing. We must recall the mindset of the salmon and our collective commitments as Unitarian Universalists, and instead turn our attention to focusing on working with resistance rather than allowing it to exhaust us. As Unitarian Universalists, we know that sticking together is the best way forward. And as a covenantal faith, we do so in some very specific and compassion-filled ways. This word, covenantal, means that we enter into relationship with one another freely and on purpose, and in accordance with our principles. Our covenant is one based on love and justice, compassion and respect, and we seek to support the thriving of all people of goodwill who wish to join us in this binding. Ours is a covenant to journey with and alongside, no matter what challenges we are called to respond to, or what the next bend in the river may reveal. And this is the good news of our faith, that we've got each other's backs, as well as those soft undersides, those bellies. This is the heart of our faith and the joy of this community at South Valley. This is our purposeful binding to one another in love and in compassion. And as we learn from the world around us how to tend and make ever stronger this covenantal promise, the roots of South Valley will grow stronger, and our light that we shine out will grow brighter. We are called, like the salmon, to accept what is, to learn to work with it, and to stick together and trust one another. The salmon trusts that stiller waters lie ahead. And as faithful folks, we can do the same. We can recall that the river is wide and that calmer waters lay just outside the churn. And if we notice one of our fellow co-swimmers being a little tired, we can encourage them to swim out a little bit, to rest and recover, and then swim back in to join us in the next leap for that waterfall. And we can trust collectively that past the current waterfalls in our path, there does lie calmer waters, and indeed a wide and open ocean that calls us onward to our collective arrival. Let us remind one another that this too shall pass, for it always does, and it will continue to be so. We're not done swimming yet. I don't know how those salmon know how to know what they know or how they learn to leap, but I am prepared to follow their example. And I invite each and all of you and all of us to do the same. May we learn these gifts from the nature that is all around us, and may we tend to each other collectively with compassion and joy and love and that solidarity that we are so well known for in our history. And may we become the best versions of ourselves now and in this moment and in the moments to come. May you be well, and may it be so. Amen.
Lord, Tammy's going to put the words in the chat box. This little light of mine is our closing hymn.
For those of you who remember and you want to do the actions, feel free. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Lori is going to put the chalice extinguishing words in the chat box. You are invited to unmute yourselves, stand and say our chalice extinguishing words together.
Right.
We
We extinguish
extinguish
this
this
chalice,
chalice, but not
but not
the
for
warmth of
community,
community, the light of
light
truth,
of truth,
or the energy of action.
We
We
hold
each other in our hearts
hearts
till we meet
until we
again.
meet again.
So we're ending with a Irish piece. This one by a very, very famous blind Irish harper from the 17th century, Turlough O'Carolan.
Thank you, Mary, for the gift of your harp this morning. It is always a blessing upon us. Our time of worship is coming to its close, but our time of service to the world yet begins again. As you go forth into this week, may you have a little bit of light and warmth in your heart. And when you notice that another needs a little bit of that spark, may you just give them the sip that they need. As we go forth, I leave you with this Unitarian prayer. From all that dwells below the skies, let faith and hope and joy arise. Let beauty, truth, and good be sung through every land, by every tongue. Happy Midwinter. May you be blessed today in your day. We'll take a short break and then come back for social time.